Hello again and good evening. That was an early Jamaican recording called Downbeat Special. It's by a group of studio musicians called Clue J and the Blues Blasters, the nucleus of whom are thought to be responsible for the creation of Jamaica's first modern urban pop form, the ska. Downbeat Special, like so many other Jamaican recordings of that period, reflects the fact that the rhythm and blues craze, which began to sweep Jamaica in the 40s, had by the late 50s taken firm roots in Jamaica. Now, the rise of rhythm and blues, a modern urban pop form coming out of the plantation experience of America's southern blacks, reflected the transformation of Jamaica from a predominantly rural society to an urban one. We saw that the Mento, Jamaica's first traditional pop form, continued to enjoy popularity in the modern era. We saw that through travel, migration and radio, Jamaicans became exposed to the popular music of places like Cuba, Panama, the USA, and the Eastern Caribbean. We also saw that in the modern era, opportunities for formal music training for ordinary Jamaicans came with the establishment of Alpha School and Orphanage. Finally, we saw that through the American presence in Jamaica during the Second World War, Jamaicans were exposed to and developed a taste for rhythm and blues, which was accommodated by the sound systems, the demand for which eventually led to the development of a local recording industry. Now, when the Americans left Jamaica after the war, the availability of R&B records became problematic. And with the advent of rock and roll in the early 50s, the sources for R&B began to dry up. It is in this period that we see the rise of the sound systems and the beginning of the decline of the big bands. For those who don't know, a sound system is a souped-up mobile disco or hi-fi system with large speakers putting out a considerable amount of wattage. What is known of their origin? Here's Garth White of the African Caribbean Institute.
They credit two people, I think. They credit Roy White and they credit Headley Jones. Right? Headley Jones now had some electronic training and he had a little shop where he had a rough amplifier, a early amplifier, and he would string it up with a couple boxes and play some of the more popular tunes which either they heard on the radio, we were saying, or which people brought in. Well, the other people now saw that this was a good idea to make some money. And so they adapted their early radios so that they could have outside speaker boxes, you know, those early grand radios like, say, the German Telefunken, they are the Murphy, which is even now, if you have one, you know, it's still quite a powerful set. They probably would have string up something like two 10-inch or two 12-inch speakers and play at a fixed locale in the early period. Now, when they saw how successful this was, they decided that they could take the road. And in fact, people started coming to them now and saying, well, like probably, if not directly, instead of the tea meeting, to come and say, well, play at my yard this weekend, man, because drink two juice and thing and we can have a nice time. Gradually, you know, it became a work. Some, you know, similar to the rent party in the US where a person would stage something to get some funds together to cover some expenses, you know. And from that, well, not so humble, but small beginnings, came these, I can only call them grand tradition sets, because certainly just until recently, there was probably nowhere else in the world that featured sets that really had so much wattage at the fingertips.
The popular sound systems of the day includes Waldron, Tom the Great Sebastian, Count Nick, King Edwards, Duke Reed, Sir Coxsone and others. The records they played consisted mostly of R&B tunes by people like Louis Jordan, Lloyd Price, Smiley Lewis, Fats Domino. In addition, they would play ballads, a little rock and roll, calypso, and Mento. By this time, Stanley Moto had set up a recording studio and Ken Kuhuri had established a pressing plant. Stanley Moto and Edward Siaga began recording local Mento artists. This new interest in the Mento was largely stimulated by the rising popularity of its sound-alike cousin from Trinidad, the calypso. The whole thing seems to have been triggered off by Lord Beginner's Cricket Lovely Cricket, celebrating the victory of the West Indies against England in 1950. The popular Mento singers of that period, such as Lord Flea, Lord Fly, Count Lasher, Hubert Porter, and others, took on some of the external trappings of the Calypsonians, and one could detect Calypso influences in some Mento arrangements. This, together with the fact that the two forms have a lot of similarities, accounts for the fact that the word Calypso is often used in Jamaica when people are in fact talking about the Mento. Here's Lord Beginner's Cricket Lovely Cricket, followed by a medley of Mento tunes by Lord Fly.
Cricket, lovely cricket, at Lord's where I saw it. Cricket, lovely cricket, at Lord's where I saw it. Yardley tried his best, Goddard won the test. They gave the crowd plenty fun. The second test on West Indies won with those little pals of mine, Ramadine and Valentine. The king was there well attired, so they started with Ray and Stallmeyer. Stolly was hitting balls round the boundary, but Waddle stopped him at 20. Ray had confidence, so he put up a strong defense. He saw the king was waiting to see, so he gave him a century with those little pals of mine, Ramadine and Valentine.
He said, I'll kill and fly before the day is done. But before he could count from 1 to 10, the little flying on the grocery man again. There were 2 flies, and on one day, they packed the grips and flew away. The mother said, no, back you come. The flies replied, oh, you kiss my gum. Now one was black, the other was blue. One had stripes on his tralaloo. The other had stripes on his tralala too. Where did the little fly go? Strike, strike, all around me is strike. Strike, 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 oh, strike, you go up on a hike. Jamaica, the land of wood and water, mother and son, father and daughter, all you can hear from morning till night is strike, strike, strike. Now they work at them for the walk, them strike yard, stableman do the same. Banana man, the cane piece man, they all play the same old game. Me dog him stop from barking, me watch gone for a strike. Now everything in Jamaica is striking, the matches refuse to strike. Go back and cook again. If you're feeling bad, go back and cook again. Darling, girl, kill me. Darling, girl, kill me. Darling, girl, kill me. Take a par-boiled rice. Darling, girl, kill me. Darling, girl, kill me. Darling, girl, kill me. Take a par-boiled rice. You're feeling bad, go back and cook again. If you're feeling bad, go back and cook again. White rum, mommy double down, me no want dirty girl come tingle me. drink white from a tumble dum. Me no want dirty girl come tingle me. Iron bar, iron bar, iron bar, iron bar, iron bar, iron bar. Me no want dirty girl come tingle me.
The small output of Mento records did not constitute a recording industry. Now, the sound system operators had started recording local artists working within the R&B format, but these were more or less for exclusive use on their sound systems. This practice, according to Garth White, was first started by two sound system operators, a Mr. Tiwari and Clement Dodd, whose sound system was called Sir Coxson's Downbeat. This was in 1956, by which time Jamaica already had a caucus of practicing vocalists who had emerged out of talent concerts like Veer John's Opportunity Hour and Opportunity Knocks, as well as other variety concerts which took place from time to time. This body of singers were soon to become Jamaica's pioneering recording artists. They include Laurel Aitken, Wilfred Jackie Edwards, Bunny and Skitto, Alton and Eddie, Owen Gray, Keith and Enid, Higgs and Wilson, and Derek Morgan. It wasn't until the very late 50s that Chris Blackwell, founder of Island Records, and Edward Siaga of West Indian Recording Limited saw the commercial possibilities for local music. When they began manufacturing local records for retail, the recording industry took off. Here's Chris Blackwell of Island Records.
Well, what existed was Federal Records, who were the main pressing plant, or the only pressing plant. And then they were joined by a company called, I think it was called West Indies Records at the time, which in fact was owned by Eddie Siaga. And there were only two companies in the business, and what they would be doing was recording bands locally, but mainly pressing and distributing in Jamaica, or in, as well as the islands, American licenses like Atlantic or CBS or Decca, all these early large companies. And that was the main business. Now, around about the time of me recording Little Sheila, also Eddie Siaga started recording local popular music. Before that, I think he had recorded some folk music. But pop music, and I think the first record he made was Manio by Higgs and Wilson. And then the Folks Brothers made O Carolina. And this all happened around the same time. The music business as such existed a very little local recording, because this was the first local recording. What the business was people importing 78s, scratching off the label and selling them. That's what the music business was in Jamaica then. And the reason they would scratch them off is because, you know, you could get more money for it because you didn't know what the record was. And this was really started with the sound system men, because their business in most cases was selling liquor, and, you know, they would run dances. And in order to draw the most people or to sell the most liquor, you would need the strongest songs, the strongest records. So then, you know, one would find something that was really strong, and you wouldn't give it to anybody for a bit, and then after a bit you'd bring them down, scratch it off, and then sell them to your competitors, etc., etc. So then, naturally, when local recording started, very soon it was picked up by all the sound system men, who then went into their own record business and started actually making locally records, and then after that building studios, and then after that in some cases pressing plants. And those were Duke Reid, King Edwards, Prince Buster, and Coxsone.
Here are some examples of the early Jamaican recordings that Chris Blackwell was talking about.
Get alive, I really love you, so please let me go. Please let me go. When you hold my hand, I love you so. We go together, don't let me go. Yeah, now.
If you didn't love me, dear, why didn't you let me know? Darling, you've left me in tears, and I don't know what to do. I should have known from the start that you're not meant for me, that you would break my heart and leave me here in misery. Ever since you left at night, my heart is aching for you. There's nothing I do that can be right, 'cause I'm worried over you. If you didn't need my kiss, why didn't you let me know? Darling, I just can't resist to tell you I don't know what to do.
If I had a pair of wings over the prison walls, I'd fly until I find the one I love so well. Just because I love her so, that is the reason why I'd go. Although I know that it may cost my life.
In my heart, I feel like a king, looking for a queen to call my own. In my palace, I have two thrones. One is for me, others waiting. So, darling, can't you say you will be my queen? Occupy my throne. Whoa. In my heart, I feel like a king, looking for a queen to call my own. In my heart, I have two thrones. One is for me, others waiting. One night I went to a party. I stood I love you. Or else, darling, you wouldn't have made me cry.
Hush, darling, you should know I love you. 'Cause my heart, dear, is trembling like a leaf.
Although Jamaica's pioneering recording artists began by working within the R&B framework, it wasn't long before influences from Jamaica's musical heritage, in which the early practitioners would have been immersed, began to creep into the music. Some of the traditional elements at work were the Mento, the church music of revival, Zion and Pocomania, Rasta drum rhythms, call and response, as well as the local language or dialect of Jamaica, as opposed to the vocal styling modeled on American R&B exponents. Out of this combination of the R&B shuffle rhythm and local influences came Jamaica's first modern urban pop music, the ska. The shuffle rhythm of the piano in R&B perhaps can be paralleled to the offbeat strumming of the guitar and banjo in Mento. In ska, the shuffle rhythm of the piano is halved, so that whereas in R&B the piano plays chinka chinka chinka, in ska the ching is left out and only the ka is played in between the beat or on the offbeat, so that instead of chinka chinka chinka, we get ka ka ka, hence the term ska. The drums play a 4/4 beat with the bass drum accenting the second and fourth beats in the bar, while the guitar strums on the offbeat with the piano and horns. The horns would also be used to add embellishment to the basic rhythm, with the saxophone, trumpet and trombone playing short solos, often echoing Mento melodies. There are a number of conflicting claims as to who first invented ska. Various musicians, including the internationally renowned guitarist Ernest Ranglin and Theophilus Beckford, the piano player and vocalist, say they are responsible. Here's what Theophilus Beckford has to say about the birth of ska.
I was really the first one who bring in this ska music in the island. You know, it was pure foreign tune and calypso. So, you know, whenever I at home on my veranda playing the piano, you have many people used to come around and said, what kind of music is that you're playing? We don't know what kind of music, so the beat sound nice to them, you know. And we used to have a lot of crowd gather around, come to hear me and so on. This man named Kwesi Johnson that play bass, you know, when I come with this tune, he used to call me a little nickname by the name of Scavuvia. To the piano go ska, 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 you know, and everybody loved that, so that's the way we come to call it ska. Kwesi Johnson used to call me ska.
Here's a song which made Theophilus Beckford famous in Jamaica. According to him, it was recorded as early as 1957. It's called Easy Snapping.
Last night, Papa coming down, keys to the cross the door.
In spite of the claim by Theophilus Beckford and others that they invented ska, most commentators would agree that it is somewhat contentious to isolate any single musician. Theophilus Beckford was, however, one of the nucleus of early studio musicians called Clue J and the Blues Blasters. The rhythm section consisted of Cloet Johnston on bass, Auckland Drumbago Parks on drums, Aubrey Adams and Theophilus Beckford on piano, and Jajeri on guitar. This lineup would vary from time to time and was supplemented by other session musicians. These included Ernest Ranglin, Rico Rodriguez, Roland Alfonso, and others. It is perhaps safer to say that these early studio musicians collectively were responsible for the emergence of ska. Now, the birth of ska coincided with the setting up of Jamaica's second radio station, the state-owned Jamaican Broadcasting Corporation. JBC had a cultural policy of promoting things Jamaican, and band leader Sonny Bradshaw was given the task of devising two pop music programs. These two programs were Teenage Dance Party and the Jamaican Hit Parade. Jamaica's other radio station, RJR, had refused to play local music or even R&B. So with the arrival of JBC and Teenage Dance Party and the Jamaican Hit Parade, local music began to get national exposure. The impact and popularity of these two programs was tremendous. Teenage Dance Party would travel from parish to parish each week, and there would be live broadcast on location. Young people would be able to send greetings to their friends, and they were able to vote for their favorite records during the hit or miss segment of the program, which was somewhat akin to the jukebox jury. The rising popularity of modern Jamaican pop was reflected in the Jamaican Hit Parade, which at first was dominated by R&B and other American tunes, but soon was overtaken by ska. After Teenage Dance Party came off the air in 1963, at a later stage, local producers, particularly the sound system operators, would buy airtime on both stations to promote their productions. Let us now return to ska itself and ask ourselves the question, what were the singers singing about during this period? Well, needless to say, the universal theme of love and man-woman relationships found ready expression in ska. But the songwriters also had other preoccupations, and the output of ska tunes reflected the multiplicity of themes. Here are two tunes which show that the protest element, which is now a characteristic feature of the lyricism of today's reggae music, is something that was present in Jamaican pop from the very beginning.
Money can't buy life.
That was Freedom by Clancy Eccles and Money Can't Buy Life by Monty Morris, both reflecting the protest element in ska. Some songs during this era focused not so much on temporal themes, but rather on more spiritual concerns, reflecting the religious propensity of the Jamaican people. An example of this is a song called Never Grow Old by Toots and the Maytals. Some ska tunes took the form of verbal castigation of whoever it was that offended the writer of the song. Often biblical references and old Jamaican proverbs would be invoked to add spiritual and philosophical weight to what was being said. Here are some examples of what I mean. There are Blackhead Chinaman by Prince Buster, Rough and Tough by Stranger Cole, and Carrigo Brinkum by Justin Hines and the Dominoes.
Done stole my belongings and give to your Chinese man. God in heaven knows, He knows that you are wrong. Are you a Chinese man? Are you a black man? It don't need no eyeglass to see that your skin is black.
Who are you that I should be mindful of? You run for refuge and were rescued. That's a fact. Then why lie and try to bite the hand that feed you? Yes, the good you do lives after you. You could puff, puff and puff till you bust. It shall be rough, rough and tough on your side. So stop lie, don't try to bite the hands that feed you. For the good you do lives after you.
A number of ska tunes reflect a clear Mento influence. Some were in fact ska renditions of old Mento songs. Examples that readily come to mind are Elena, which tells the story of a country girl who is surprisingly ignorant about the use of common herbal remedies for physical ailments, and the sexually suggestive Rukumbine and Penny Reel. Although vocalists were tremendously popular during the era of ska, it was a group of instrumentalists called the Skatalites who dominated the music, taking it to its highest level of creativity and popularity. Formed in 1963 after the breakup of their predecessors, the Blues Blasters, the Skatalites consisted of Lloyd Brevitt on bass, Lloyd Nibbs on drums, Jajeri on guitar, the young Jackie Mito on piano, Roland Alfonso and Tommy McCook on tenor saxophones, Lester Sterling on alto sax, Johnny Moore on trumpet, and the legendary Don Drummond on trombone. These musicians, along with other session players, provided the musical accompaniment to most of the vocalists of that period. Some members of the Skatalites, like Don Drummond and Tommy McCook, both graduates of the Alpha School Band, Johnny Moore, who came from the military band, and Roland Alfonso, who graduated from the Stony Hill School Band, were formally trained musicians deeply immersed in jazz. Most of them embraced the Rastafarian faith of their mentor, the Rastafarian master drummer Count Ozzy, with whom they would have jam sessions in Warwicker Hills. Apart from providing musical accompaniment for singers, they also produced a prolific output of their own instrumental music. Many of their records are quite rightly considered classics of the golden era of modern popular Jamaican music. Here are some examples of the music of the Skatalites. That was a selection of tunes by the Scatterlights featuring the late great Don Drummond. Now, apart from the Scatterlights, other bands popular during the era of ska include Carlos Malcolm and the Afro-Jamaicans, the Sheiks, the Vikings, and Byron Lee and the Dragonaires, who had been in existence from the latter stages of the big band era. Other top musicians include Barbara Brooks, Cannonball Bryan, Raymond Harper, and Val Bennett, who was a top band leader also during the dance band period. But it was the Scatterlights who carried the mantle. Their music was so advanced, it had within it the seeds of the musical forms which were to emerge in the mid and late 60s. Here are two tunes by Don Drummond and the Scatterlights, which anticipated later developments in modern Jamaican pop. They are African Beat and Valley Prince. By the mid-60s, the music began to change, and by 1966, a new form called the rocksteady had emerged. The last piece of music tonight is a tune called Woman A Come by the late Margarita, who was Don Drummond's lady. Good night.
Ayata, your daughter, from Venturian border, a come. Aya, ayata, woman a come. Ayata, jadata, woman a come. Jadata, ayata, a come to sound. Ungo malungo man. Ungo malungo man. Ungo malungo man. Ayata, jadata, from Venturian
from Venturian border. Oh, man, come.